Hello, I'm Alison Duana, and welcome to my Astrology and Gene Keys podcast. So, we have a super powerful week ahead. Venus is coming to the end of her cycle of descending as morning star. We have the new moon later in the week, and we also have Uranus turning retrograde, joining all the other outer planets with Chiron and many of the goddess asteroids. So if you're feeling the pressure right now, if your life is unraveling, then this will hopefully give you some ideas of why that is. So there's many different levels at which this is occurring, but I want to share through the prism of relationships, because that's kind of how it's mostly manifesting in my world, and especially this mythical story that I've talked about quite a lot in the past on my podcast of Salacia and Neptune, which is creating the new way of being together as men and women, but there obviously can also be other configurations. Okay, so one of the things about this new configuration actually is that LGBTQ people are very much part of that, because the old paradigm of evolution, the main focus was about population, getting children on the planet. But now that is shifting. And so what the evolutionary current is looking or is creating, not looking for, but creating, is human beings who can make quantum levels of change in consciousness, because this is what we're all about now. There's enough people. In fact, that's under a lot of pressure now, how many people there are. So everything's kind of shifting. And all these big planets going retrograde are really helping to break things down. So let's just have a quick look at those. Here in the fourth house, we have Pluto. This is in Capricorn, and it's in Gene Key 60, line 1. So here we're experiencing limitation as the feeling that makes us want to break down the old and create something new. We have Saturn here in the 49. So this is about a revolutionary energy. And, Saturn in Aquarius is kind of making way for the new Aquarian forms to be born, which are based more on equality and a non-hierarchical flavor. And here we have the priestess there. Vesta is also retrograde, traveling with Saturn at the moment. Here we have Neptune retrograde, okay, and we have Astrea and Juno traveling with Neptune. Astrea and Juno are in Gene Key 22, which is the divine feminine transmission. Neptune is in 36. This is all about turbulence in the shadow and compassion in the higher frequency. So what we have with Astrea and Juno is this kind of sensitizing of relationships, to kind of the honoring of the male and female. But this takes communication. It takes sensitive and kind of open communication to be in the new way of being. Then we have Jupiter retrograde. And Jupiter is conjunct this trans-Neptunian object called Salacia, who has very much been part of my world in the last few years. and opposing her is Mucky Mucky, the Easter Island god. So this kind of male, ancient male energy of fertility rituals and island life is somehow interacting in all of this. The story of Salacia and Neptune is really interesting, because Salacia, through kind of saying, no, I'm not going to do the lust part of this story anymore, forces Neptune into a higher frequency. We could say in the kind of yogic terms, he's forced from his lower chakras into his heart chakra. And Salacia too, she's moving, you know, the whole relationship thing up from, you know, creating children, lust, sex, into, if you like, there's more kind of transcendental, erotic relationships that plug into the creative nature of the universe. Yeah, so they're really transforming each other, Salacia and Neptune, into a higher frequency. And one of the ways it's really kind of coming through this week to me, this kind of clarity, that one of the issues about the old paradigm is we looked for permanence, you know, let's get married, let's have children, let's make a home. And all of that was perfectly right and good. And for some people, it may still be but absolutely the right path to go down, to create that sense of permanence. However, there is another story going on where it's not necessarily that there won't be permanence, but it's that permanence doesn't become like something that you fixate on. Because as soon as you fixate on the need for permanence, the need for security, it's like you're starting to distort the relationship field, and it causes a lot of tension. It causes a lot of problems in that field, and it kind of dampens down the eros in some ways. Eventually it does anyway. And it causes this tension between the male and the female. So this new paradigm is based on freedom. The 55 gene key is all about freedom. And actually the new moon is in the 59, its programming partner. And this gene key 59 is actually at the heart of this whole transformation in this field of relationships. So this is a really important new moon as far as all of this transforming relationships goes. So the 59 has the shadow of dishonesty. It has the gift of intimacy. So this is a really interesting interplay, because how I experienced this is that dishonesty often comes from a place of fear, like we don't want to tell the truth, because if we tell the truth about who we are and what we really desire and what we want, then you know, our whole world might come tumbling down. You know, it's going to cause a lot of problems to be that honest. And so we fall into this dishonesty, but in the dishonesty, it kind of creates barriers to intimacy, because in that kind of subtle level of not being open and honest, the walls between people start to get erected. And then the city of the 59 is transparency, which is, you know, in my experience, it's a really powerful state to be in, because if you start to be transparent, your whole world is going to change for the better, but it may temporarily all kind of come crashing down around your ears as the kind of dishonesty that you've been living becomes exposed. So this Jinki calls for, and this new moon calls for, like a huge level of self-honesty. And sometimes that comes as moments of clarity. Sometimes we don't even know that we've been dishonest with ourselves and what we need for a long time. And then suddenly, boom, something happens, and there it is in front of us. Okay, so yeah, just to mention as well here, we have Uranus is the final planet to go retrograde of all the outer planets this week. As he goes retrograde, he's moving back into Gene Key 23, which is about simplification and stripping away. He's then I think it's in September, he's going to be conjunct Gene Key 2 again. But his retrograde finishes in January, actually. So we've got a long period now. The first one to go direct again is Saturn, and that will be 22nd of October, which is the Libra star point day. So I hope you find that useful. You know, hang on in there if you're struggling with your relationships, and maybe bringing it down to this one thing of really being honest with yourself first, you know, and then with others later, about how you feel, what you need, what you desire. And I want to invite you to join my Venus Wisdom School. It's on a platform called Soul Tribe, where we meet for weekly astrology updates and adventures. It feels like we're really at the cutting edge of all of this and how the world is changing. And, you know, I do try and keep the astrology in a really embodied, creative way. So we're doing sound healing journeys. So if you don't know astrology that well, you know, still come along and try it out, because I'm trying to like not do astrology from the intellectual level, and to, as I say, be very creative with it and experiential with it. So thank you for that. Email me if you want more information, and I'll put a link to the subscription platform below, and you can go and check it out and sign up to Venus Moon Inner Sanctuary with me as your referring teacher. So namaste, go in peace, bye.